All right. Hopefully, this is the last one we're going to make on this. But before we get there and talk about authenticating the birth certificate, which documents need to be, which ones don't need to be, how to identify them, what the process is, what the form, what the helly, please be sure to visit blacksite32.com, jamesclovett.com, on Facebook, The Bad Wolf Unincorporated, The Bad Wolf Unrestricted, also on Facebook. Otherwise, jamesclovett.com and blacksite32.com. Those are my four main places. And you should be seeing my faces. With that being said, welcome to the International Man of Mystery, Mr. MIB, and Black himself, The Bad Wolf. Let's get it. Authentication. What does authentication mean? Authentication, to authenticate, means to be brought into the real world, not the fictional ceremonial world of the maritime admiralty jurisdiction or the Hague Convention. Hague is a system of agreeing that all of our paperwork for our members of this public, this corporate, this maritime, this UCC contract world is all the same. Their world generally has their documents in portrait form, like a portrait on the wall. Real America has theirs in landscape, where it's the long way tilted. That's generally real authentication. Today, we've kind of mixed some things up a little bit. Now, to authenticate, how do you do that? You have to have a document that is worthy and can be authenticated. That generally can be done on the county level, county, state, and federal levels. However, most places don't want to do certain things on the county level. Some states will do the authentication, but you've got states like Florida, California, New York, and a couple others that will not authenticate. What does authenticate mean? Once again, it means to bring or be created in the real world, actual law, constitution. The opposite, to take from the private and put into the public, is to apostille or apostle a document. The Department of State does both. Most states do both. Not all of them do. You can generally tell if your document has been brought into or apostilled into the Hague Convention if it says for use within the United States of America. America has gone Hague. If it says not for use in the United States of America, even though the GPO style manual says to authenticate authentication for legal purposes, United States works both angles, we'll just say. So if it says for not for use within the United States of America, then you've authenticated it correctly. I generally like to use Egypt as the country, but if you go to Department of State's website of authentication or Hague member countries, any country listed there is a Hague country, so find one that's not on that page. Depending on your state, they may or may not authenticate. To put an end to something that we created a long time ago, you do not need to authenticate on two levels or three. You can do all three. You can do two. Some states will allow that. Sometimes the government will allow that, but not all the time. In order to authenticate, you take your birth document or whatever document you have. The states will do certain types. We primarily focus on the birth document. The government, knowing that some states won't do that for you, authenticate to make it private and real, like exporting the thing, they will do it both ways for you for almost every document that you provide, unless it's something crazy and criminal. Otherwise, they have to do it. Otherwise, it's a lawsuit to deny you a right. Now, before we get into, well, I guess to finish that part up, You can Google or whatever the name of your state or your county and say authenticate or apostille. Usually it's your Secretary of State, or sometimes it might be your vital statistics office or your registrar, depending on who it is and how big your county or whatever it is you have. But generally, the Secretary of your state is the one who usually does it. So if you're in California, you would type in, which I know they don't do authentications, they only do apostilles unless they've changed. So be careful. Sometimes the person on the phone, the person who you're dealing with, doesn't know the difference, believe it or not. I've seen it more than once. So when you get it back, you need to look at the document carefully to make sure that you did it right. You also need to make sure that the country that you're doing this for is currently either Hague or non-Hague. Now, what happens if the country turns Hague at like after you get it authenticated? Doesn't matter. The document is already set up for the right jurisdiction. Now, what documents should you be doing? Well, there's lots. You do almost any of them on the state, or a lot on the state level, not all documents, but a lot. Generally, here we use it for the passport, so it's usually your birth document. Which ones need to be authenticated and which ones don't? The only one that really needs to be authenticated, and only really for the passport process and possibly some court situations, is the one that comes in portrait form. It's usually a blue or a green. It has just your mom's name, your dad's name, and your name, basically capitalized letters, a seal or whatever else on there. And it says state of blah, blah, blah on the top. That document is the 14th Amendment. You are a slave. This is your legal person and your legal estate for doing business in their public, commercial, maritime, UCC jurisdiction, political subdivision thereof. That one. If it says certified copy and you see, or it says live birth or certificate of birth, Bible, private, and it's either this way or this way it can be. That's how it should be. Some of them, when they give you a certified copy, they take this document that's this way, put it on this form this way, and put it the long way across it. When you see a lot of little boxes with your name in it, your mom, your dad's signature, your baby footprint, the word heirloom or live, living, your age, weight, orient, well, not really orientation, but sex, anything that's living that describes a living being, that one does not. It does not have to be done. That is a living document. That is a private document. Only the one that says state of across the top, state of North Carolina birth certificate. That document was and is the creation of the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, makes you a member of theirs. And when you use it, you're basically saying, I'm not in my capacity as a national, I'm in my capacity as a U.S. citizen. That's why they want that document most times. And like, no, we don't want the hospital one. You got to get a state one because the state of Florida, who issued that document, is their boss. And they want to make sure that they bring you in as a U.S. citizen and a member who's entitled to their benefits and privileges. So when you authenticate it, you're pulling it out of the state's Hague Maritime UCC jurisdiction. You're exporting it out and you're bringing it into the free world where now you can use it to claim that you're a national. If you can get the other documents, that's great. If you only have the slave one, use that one, authenticate that one. That's it. Now, now that you know that and you have the correct document, if your county won't authenticate, your state won't authenticate, then your last and next option is the Department of State, where you're going to use a DS 4194. You're going to make sure you add up the fees for however many copies you need. You're going to put generally Egypt. And at the time of this recording, Egypt is non-Hague, but double check, never know. Put that on there. You can tell them for private use or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's not really none of their business. Add up your fees, put the total there. Number of copies, one, if that's what you're getting. Put your money in there. I recommend putting a check. You also have to have, I believe, a large self-addressed stamped envelope. So you put everything in a brown manila envelope, take a standard business size envelope, put your name and address on the two. You put it from Department of State, Authentication Department. You stamp it. You take this, your birth document, and the DS 4194 Authentication Apostille application document. Put all those in the big manila one. Address it to the address on the DS 4194 address. Put your address in the from. Make sure you put the appropriate postage on there, and then you mail it. You wait for it to come back. That is how you properly authenticate. Now, if you want to apostille or apostolate, it's the same thing with the, I don't think the county is apostille, but a lot of the states do, and the Department of State does. If your state doesn't do it, you find their form, they won't do it. Otherwise, follow their instructions, do it that way. If they won't, then you go to the Department of State, get the same form, and then on there, you're going to use a Hague country instead. Add up your fees, put all your things in there, and follow all of the other same directions. This is how you bring your document in or out of the Hague, in or out of the private for this matter. Okay? If you need any help, watch my other videos or hit me up for a consultation, blacksite32.com. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Don't forget to share this video where the video needs to be sent. Appreciate you guys in advance. Remember, blacksite32.com, jamesclovett.com are my websites. Also, The Badwolf Unincorporated on Facebook and The Badwolf Unrestricted also on Facebook. I'll talk to you guys later.